Welcome back to askreddit Discover channel. What's a scary science fact that the public knows nothing about? 50% of insects have disappeared since 1970. Insect population is down 27% in the last 30 years. Declining between 1 and 4% each year depending on the genus. I knew it. I've always suspected this. I never realize how many insects there are until I go camping and they start attacking me at night. Never get that in suburbs, shows what the urban environment does for insect populations. Especially with all the artificial lights at night, insects are designed to navigate off the moon. Gecko population. Researchers have found viruses in the Arctic permafrost that have been frozen for thousands of years. One of these viruses, pithovirus, was dormant for 30,000 years, until the researchers revived it and it infected the amoebas that were placed in the tank with it. Which of course presents a scary scenario. What happens when the ice melts away and viruses are released that haven't been in contact with humans for 10,000 plus years? Fun fact, a large chunk of human DNA is believed to be transposition from viruses. Think of the herpes simplex virus. The reason you get it for life is because it engineers its way into your DNA. It forever incorporates itself into your DNA. Long story short, what scientists used to call junk DNA is not only regulatory elements but leftover artifacts from previous evolutionary battles with ancient viruses. Look up transposon experiments with maize for further in-depth explanations if you're interested. Edit: herpes is a retrovirus, not a transposon. Mechanism and principle is the same, but I don't want to spread any misinformation. Heart muscle cells don't reproduce much in adults, roughly 1% per year. If you have an infarction or other stressor that kills those cells, then your heart won't be able to grow new cells to replace the dead ones. This is why patients with diseases like heart failure end up needing a heart transplant. Trying to get this process to happen is a major goal for many cardiac researchers. Edit: thank you all for making this such an engaging and interesting discussion. I've been studying heart cells for 10 plus years now, basic scientist, no clinical training, and it's so refreshing to read many diverse perspectives and on-point questions. Also, why cocaine should be used very, very infrequently, if at all, as it's directly cardiotoxic. Edit: dudes, I'm not a doctor, I can't give you medical advice. Edit: just Google drug plus cardiotoxicity people. Research the feck out of SID before you try it and test shit with reagents, for God's sake, it's so easy and cheap. All onions, all veggies in the allium family, are toxic to dogs. Worst case scenario then can develop AIHA, autoimmune hemolytic anemia, whereas the body destroys its own red blood cells. This disease is about 80% fatal. My dog caught it, we are not sure from where, but it was a primary disease, not a result of a cancer. We think he was eating leeks out of the garden. Took a week in the hospital, 2 blood transfusions, and about 6 months of meds to get him back. He started at 45 pounds and was down to 19 pounds at the worst part of it. Also grapes and propylene glycol is toxic for cats, I think. Edit: mistook peg for PG. Man, humans have amazing digestive systems. Chocolate is toxic to many animals, too. When it comes to alliums, we've made them into staples of nearly every world cuisine and the baseline of flavor in nearly every savory dish. Take that, toxins. Yeah, but, like, have you ever chopped an onion? If so, you know it's gotta be toxic. A CME, coronal mass ejection, is the most likely civilization-ending disaster to come from space. The sun emits them regularly, and they hit the Earth every few hundred years. The last one occurred in the 1890s, but society at the time was less susceptible to the effects. Were one to hit the Earth today, it would basically destroy all the tech infrastructure on whichever side of the planet is facing the sun at the time. This would knock the affected hemisphere back into the stupid ages, and it would take decades to recover, altering the global balance of power forever. It's only a matter of time. We could mitigate the effects, but it would be expensive, so we haven't and likely never will. At least not until the problem becomes real to people. By then it will be too late. This is a much more likely scenario than an asteroid impact. Yeah. Unless the human race as a whole starts prioritizing survival and the future instead of profit, we are kinda just screwed every way possible in the future. We came close in 2012, a CME near miss. Also, Add in magnetars like SGR 1806-20 that even 50,000 light-years away can flare so strongly it would devastate Earth. This would fix it up but wouldn't come close to ending civilization. Anthrax spores can remain viable for decades in the soil or animal products such as dried or processed hides and wool. I heard of issues coming up with those Tough Mudder type obstacle courses. Company rents out a field, digs up the mud is contaminated with agricultural runoff, aka feces, and people get all kinds of infections and viruses. I only recently learned that when you get sunburned, the burn isn't because of skin cell damage. The UV radiation damages the DNA. Then the skin cells decide to commit suicide and fall off so that the damaged DNA doesn't produce cancer. I'll never be mad at my skin peeling again. This is not to say that you won't get skin cancer from sunburn because your skin peels. You absolutely will get skin cancer if you burn over and over. Source: I'm 35 with a dozen basal cell carcinomas and one squamous cell carcinoma removed from my body by way of minor surgery. Have been sunburnt more times than I can remember and peel like a leper after the bad ones. This is not actually specific to skin or skin cancer. All cells are programmed to commit suicide when they detect DNA damage because the accumulation of DNA damage often results in cancer. Cells will also raise their hand when they become infected by a virus, effectively alerting the immune system to come and kill them so that they don't spread the virus to non-infected cells. Infected cells really try to take one for the team. If your dog swims in a lake after receiving a spot on flea treatment, it absolutely decimates the invertebrate population. A large dog swimming in 8 Olympic swimming pools worth of water soon after treatment will leach enough neurotoxin to kill 50% of the lake's invertebrate population within 48 hours. I say after, I mean relatively soon after, within say a day, to have an effect quite this devastating. The leaching does reduce over the month, but it's still there and the effect of multiple dogs still allows for a terrible buildup of chemicals. This has blown my mind. What are the active chemicals that cause this? I never knew this was why, but I remember working in a vet clinic, at the front desk, and they told us to always tell people not to let their dogs go for a swim in any body of water for at least a week after getting a flea treatment. I always assumed it was BC the medicine would just wash off.